Oh, hello guys, welcome back. So I noticed something. Odin's been going behind me, and so it'll be another Odin video to be sure. So happy Freya's Day, but Odin video time. Been going behind me, and I've noticed gods have been disappearing. A wolf paw must shoot out, and there they go. And he gave me a mental image yesterday of there's this black steel door up now, and he's welded it shut. He's like kind of like giving me this mental image and like looking over his shoulder real proud, like, look what I'm doing. He's always going to test your borders. He's always going to test your borders, find out what he can get, find out, how determined are you to have something. I really haven't noticed a difference as he's pushed gods out, and they might always vaguely try to come back in. But I get what he's aiming for. What he's aiming for. If he's gonna add, if the gods are gonna add new patronage, then it's like a full-time job. I already got 2 full-time jobs. You're gonna have another one. You're gonna have to shift your priorities. And I said, we're honest with each other. I said, you take care of me, old man. Fine. We'll do this. I said, you're so determined. He's so determined. And you do have to, one thing when you work with Odin, he does have a tendency to be more aggressive than your other gods. Not in a scary bad way, but he is aggressive. He can push Loki out too. He's aggressive, he's strong. You just have to very respectfully say, hey, we all know you're big. We all know you're the strongest one in the room. You don't have to do this. He will kind of, you have to tell him sometimes you're playing too rough, you're hurting me. He'll realize. He just doesn't realize his strength. He's one of those gods where he really doesn't realize his strength. Thor, on the other hand, is very well aware of how strong he is and will go out of his way to be gentle. Odin tries, but Odin just gets wild and rambunctious. Odin's far more wild a god than, Thor is. He might be seen as the head of this pantheon and everything, but that's a more modern concept. He's pretty wild. He's pretty wild. Loki can be wild too. And, the fun thing, the dynamic I'm getting now is that sometimes Loki is like practically, not really, but practically jumping in Odin's lap and getting all the attention and looking at me like, ha, loves me best. And that's just Loki for you. That's Loki's divine nature where he'll jump in the middle, and sometimes it's for my attention, sometimes it's for the old man's attention, but we both love him, and then he gets extra attention. They're both very, very relationship driven. They may go off for a while. That's normal. That's healthy for them to rum off for a bit. But at the same time, they both need to know the relationship's there and it's always open, and they don't come in second to anyone. If they both pick you, they'll just have this little grudge match sometimes between, who's top god. Sometimes it's definitely Loki. Most of the time, it's usually the old man because he's just stronger, he's more aggressive, he's more forward in his nature and how he interacts with things. And as I got the bear, and as I've been going back and watching all these bear videos, and thank you to the person that pointed out, that channel, because I had been thinking about that channel and I just didn't know where to go to find it. Because I'm always careful to make sure I'm watching a rescue or sanctuary channel and not somebody went out and got, a cub illegally from somewhere and they're doing that, because there are a ton of those videos on YouTube, unfortunately. There are wolf videos and bear videos, and, those bears and wolves weren't rescued. They're being raised by someone that's never dealt with them before. And they didn't bother to go out and do any more research than I have, which means watching YouTube videos and reading books, and pretty soon the wolf or the bear is a problem because they really don't understand their nature. We've been loading up on the bear goodness on YouTube, and there's a guy that he trains them and he tries to teach people how to get along with bears. And he said it sounds silly, but he'd been raising a bear for about 4 or 6 months before he realized it's not a dog. They're not a dog. I'm used to looking at the wolves and thinking wolf way and everything else. They're all that out the window when you go over to the bear. It's not all animals are exactly the same. Treat them all with love and they'll hug you. You need to be on your toes with both wolves and bears. I think that's why Odin loves them. And usually bears are sweet and they're gentle. It's just there are certain bears that if you scare them, You know, the funny thing is they have this reputation for being aggressive. You scare them, they'll kill you. That's their response. You scared me. And then they go and they tell all the other bears after they eat you. You scared me. But if you know how to interact with them, if you know if you live in bear country, you wear something jingly jangly so you make noise and you don't scare this bear. I wouldn't even scare a black bear. I wouldn't go out of my way. You know, all these sites will be like, black bears are fine. Black bears have never hurt anybody. And the government site's like, oh, really? Look at how many people these bears have killed. You have to be respectful. Not afraid, just be respectful. If I'm outside and there's a black bear chilling in the woods, or I hear stomp, stomp, stomp that sounds like a black bear or something big, I can go inside. I don't need to be outside and problem solved. Most people around here, not all, have learned to coexist with the bear and the coyotes and, you know, foxes, possums, raccoons, everything else we have. We don't have wolves anymore, unfortunately, and we certainly don't have cougars, but we've learned to coexist with what we have. I will give that to most people. Some people are idiots and they go off and they do stuff. Most people learn to coexist. And getting back to the old man, he, you know, as he's pushing for stuff and he's, you know, he sees you doing stuff he doesn't like, he comes and he takes it. Um, he appeared and I got the go ahead from him. I've told you guys before he's kind of arrived dressed in white before, and I had a dream this morning before getting up that he was sitting away from me, and when I'm dealing with that more like bear connected aspect, he looks bigger and stronger than even usual. We're both sitting on this gravel pathway in this forest, and he's sitting a respectful distance away, dressed all in white. Big bushy mustache, big bushy beard, just kind of looking over at me. And another trick I'll tell you he will do, he's not always one-eyed. He can be two-eyed, it can at least be the appearance of an eye. He's a trickster and he's a shapeshifter, and he can certainly do that because you don't always hear stories of him, of this guy that he appears as being one-eyed. That's, you know, usually something people would remark on. It's not always something you hear. So sometimes it can be Odin. He can fake his appearance. And he's being strong and he's being a healer. And he warned me last night, had me do the runes, and I got Hagalaz as the last rune. I'm like, and it was in it. There was Rido reverse before it, so he didn't like International House of Awesome. I'm pulling back, and you know. I think I get what he means, and as many times as we have to try this over again, I'm willing to try. As long as it goes smoothly, I'll be fine this time. I've noticed is whatever this is that I'm going through the last couple months, my attitude, my priorities are shifting. So, you know, he gave me right a reverse because he thought I was stuck in a rut, and then the M was Hogglers. It's a good thing he gave it to me because it's like high winds, you know, last night and all day today, and it was kind of like, you come here, you come to me, you come to the Norse gods, and everything will be fine. So we're ready in case we get power outages or something. We got the, you know, shelf stable food ready to go, and you know, we got the emergency lighting and everything ready to go in case we need to go. We got plenty of candles, so you know, we're good. But he's definitely one of those gods that he'll test your borders and he'll see, you know, how important is something to you. For the first couple days, again, it was good for me to have that door open, and then he showed me he welded it shut, and I really wasn't, you know, upset for anything or sad. It's just he's he's very pushy, and a lot of people do drop him, you know, and it seems there's two types of people. There are the people that drop him or run away or back off, and he's fine with that. And then there are the people he chases relentlessly. It's kind of like dealing with a bear. That bear for the first couple years has kind of like attachment to your hip because you're kind of like the mom. You're certainly not his mom, but he gets very attached to certain people, and he will you'll go to walk away or run away, and he'll just be coming running and walking after you, and he's not gonna let you go. I really don't like Reddit for a lot of reasons. Sometimes it's good, but most of the time it seems like it will be good for a while and then jumps a shark and only the negative whiny people are there. And you know, there were a couple things as I dug and he rewarded my searches last night. There was one thing on the witch which I mean, because he works with everybody, despite what heathens would like to pretend. He'll come work with everybody, and people said he's really good, but you got to learn he will test your boundaries, and he can get super demanding, and he and I have talked about that. He can get super demanding, like this Norse only household thing he's doing. Some people would see that as a demand, but he's just very driven. You either can learn to deal with that, or I asked him for help. I said, if you're gonna be this demanding, you gotta give me help to adapt to it. And he just kind of looked at me real surprised, because remember, that's his divine nature. He sees nothing wrong with being aggressive and demanding. But he does reward people too. Don't just court Odin because you think you're gonna get all the goodies. He can, not everybody gets the same experience, and he can be rough and wild at random, but he's really never going to go out of his way to hurt you. I mean, you would really have to piss him off, and I mean repeatedly. He is not what I would call a starter god, though if he's the god that picks people out, they'd be fine. It's just he is rough. You have to know that. This is not in any way, shape, or form Jesus. This is a rough god. He sometimes plays too rough, and he pushes too hard, and you have to tell him. You have to let him know. Or if you have a good relationship with Loki, you squeak, and Loki comes running over, and Loki will get protective. And Loki will push back. I know sometimes Loki whines because Odin will be pushing at him too. Loki's more than strong enough to push back. He whines like a baby, but Odin would not take the blood brother anyone he could just bully and torment. It wouldn't be in his nature. He'd get bored after a while and he'd walk away. He would only take someone that can give as good as they get as a brother. So even though Loki likes to play tiny and helpless, he will push back as good as he gets. He likes to go into the helpless, fainting role, and because he knows his people fall for it every time. We're like, the baby, what did you do to the baby? And Odin's over there like, he's no damn baby. Let me tell you something he did that's not in the lore. He's never told me anything like that, but you get the idea. And Thor's happier. Thor is a lot happier because they just like this. His father's awfully strong, and his father will decide all the goody stuff and all the cream in this house belongs to the Norse gods. And that's fine. When God really picks you like that and they're relentless, eventually you learn to just let them have their way. You learn that it's better because you get along and you're not wasting time fighting them, and you're learning from them. And he's pretty happy. And it's neat because we're getting all these huge wind gusts, but we're also getting this bright sunshine. So I might go out for a little bit if he indicates it's okay. We are getting like 55 or 50 some mile per hour wind gusts, they said possibly. So, they already warned us about power outages and everything. But if we get a power outage, I was gonna everything else in town will have power too, outage too. I was gonna say maybe it would be a good time to go up and go grab a pack of hot dogs before the power goes out, and be ready to get the good old grill out and be ready to cook for them. I'm getting yeah from back here, so I'll see what I do. I might end up going and taking a walk while this is uploading or something and grabbing some hot dogs. So if you guys like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye bye.